Pace work to be completed. English pace are 04 page 7 until 8. Page 7. Tiny Tiger's Toast. Listen carefully. Tiny Tiger's mother put the toaster on the table. Tiny Tiger's mother was teaching Tiny Tiger to carefully toast in the toaster. When Tiny Tiger toast popped out of the toaster, Tiny Tiger saw something terrific. Some of the slices of toast had a big T on them. Some of the slices of toast had a little T on them. With your eyes, find the slice of toast that do not have big T or little T on them. With your brown crayon, color the big T and little T slice of toast. With your blue marker, cross out the slice of toast that do not have big T or a little T on them. Page 8. Look-alike shapes. With your eyes, look carefully at row number 1. Do you see two shapes that are just alike? What shapes are just alike? With your finger, trace the two circles. With your green marker, draw on the dot lines of the two shapes that are just alike. With your eyes, look carefully at row number 2. Do you see two shapes that are just alike? What shapes are just alike? With your finger, trace the two squares. With your green marker, draw on the dot lines of the two shapes that are just alike. With your eyes, look carefully at row number 3. Do you see two shapes that are just alike? What shapes are just alike? With your finger, trace the two rectangles. With your green marker, draw on the dot lines of the two shapes that are just alike. Pace work to be completed. Math pace are 04, page 3 until 4. Page 3. AC helps Grandma. Listen carefully. Grandma! Grandma! Called AC excitedly as he hurried into the house. The baby chicks are beginning to hatch. Oh, how wonderful, AC! Grandma exclaimed. Soon, you will be able to help Grandma feed the baby chicks tiny pieces of cracked grain. Oh, goody! I would like that, said AC. Is there anything I can help you do now, Grandma? Why, thank you, AC, nodded Grandma. I do need help with a big job. You may help me wash these apples before we put them in the fruit basket. I have put clean towels on the table so we can line up the apples in nice, neat rows to dry. I love you, Grandma, said AC as he began to work. It's fun to help you. Think. What did AC hurry to tell Grandma? What would AC soon be able to help Grandma do? What would AC soon be able to help Grandpa do? What did Grandma need AC to help her do? What had Grandma put on the table to help dry the apples? How many apples are in the first row? How many rows have 5 apples? How many apples are in the last row? Count how many apples AC and Grandma wash. Where were Grandma and AC going to put the wash and dry apples? With your blue marker, draw a circle around the fruit basket that has the number of apples AC counted on it. Page 4. Counting apples. Listen carefully. As Grandpa came into the kitchen, he said, So this is where my little helper went. Grandpa gave Grandma a hug. Grandpa gave AC a pat on the head. AC, did you tell Grandma about the baby chicks? I sure did, Grandpa, said AC happily. Look what I brought in for us hungry workers. Grandpa brought 2 shiny green apples out of his big pocket. I see you have already helped Grandma wash lots of apples. Oh, Grandpa, I was just going to count our apples. Before we eat any apples, could we put them with Grandma's apples? Then I will count them all, said AC excitedly. Well, okay, AC, said Grandpa with a wink at Grandma. Would you mind if I take a little bite first before you count them? That's alright, Grandpa, AC agreed. I can still count your apple even if a little bite is missing. Everyone laughed together as AC began to count the apples for Grandpa and Grandma. With your red crayon, color all the apples in the first row. With your green crayon, color all the apples in the second row. With your red crayon, color all the apples in the third row. With your green crayon, color all the apples in the fourth row. With your red crayon, color all the apples in the fifth row. With your green crayon, color all the apples in the sixth row. With your red crayon, make a circle around the number of apples on the table after Grandpa put down the apple he was eating. Think, who came into the kitchen where Grandma and AC were washing apples? What had Grandpa brought into the house? What color were Grandpa's apples? Why did AC ask Grandpa to put his 2 green apples on the tables? What did Grandpa do to the one of his apples before AC counted? How many apples did AC count after Grandpa put down the apple he was eating?